This is something that we do every couple of weeks. Certainly Talk to the Governor has been something on KTAR for decades. And we're pleased right now to be joined by the governor of the great state of Arizona, Katie Hobbs. Governor, how are you today?
I am great. How are you?
Excellent. Doing great. So we've got a lot to go over. Let's jump into it. Okay. First, why don't we go over this, the APS bill that you signed into law? And I'm interested in this. So we had Lori Roberts write a little piece today, and it was pretty interesting. What it basically,
I call it scathing.
Okay, I call it scathing. APS just got a nice return on its investment in Arizona's leaders. So she's claiming you took some money, $100 grand for, what's the word I'm looking for your campaign? Donation. Thank you. And in doing so, you looked at a bill. Some critics are saying this is going to take money out of, just the everyday person's pocket. And at the same time, you get a donation. Is that a conflict of interest?
I can tell you that one thing has nothing to do with the other. I always act on legislation in ways that I think is in the best interest of the state, and it has nothing to do with who has donated to me or not. And this bill is a bipartisan bill that will actually lower costs for ratepayers. It provides utilities with a tool to divest from older assets. It gives us opportunities to expand our energy portfolio and create clean energy jobs. And these deals have to go through approval of the Corporation Commission, and they cannot approve a deal that doesn't lower costs for ratepayers. And there's mechanisms to hold them accountable for doing that.
Governor Hobbs, why is Attorney General Mayes opposed to this? She referred to this as unconstitutional.
You would have to ask her, but a lot of the folks that are speaking out against this bill are not considering the changes that we made. When this bill was introduced, I wasn't supportive of it, but I went to the table and I negotiated changes that made it better, that lower costs, that hold the utility accountable for making sure that any of these deals lower costs for consumers.
So the campaign donation, you could turn it down, right? I mean, if you wanted to turn down a campaign donation, you could just say no. Is that possible or no?
Yeah.
It is. Because people are like, well, why? I understand, there is kind of a difference, but there are people that look at it and say, oh, well, it's $100 grand that went to her campaign. And, of course she's going to sign this bill. That's what some people will say. If you say no to the donation, doesn't all that go away?
Well, the donation was a while ago, and again, had nothing to do with the action I took on this bill. And it actually wasn't even a campaign donation. It was a legal defense fund donation that I used to fight Carrie Lake's baseless, ongoing, never-ending lawsuits over the 2022 election that she knew she lost.
Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs is joining us in studio. She does every couple of weeks.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
You've been signing some bills and vetoing others. Mm-hmm. You got the black pen in one hand and the red in the other. One of them is the issue about encampments on college campuses. I'm thinking specifically what happened at ASU recently over some of the protests, Israel, Hamas, Palestinians, whatever you want to call it. I'm concerned about the First Amendment issues that bill that you signed have. Assuage me of my fears that this curtails free speech.
Sure. First of all, I want to make it clear that this encampment bill is not about the subject of whatever protest that encampments are happening over. It is about ensuring that we're able to provide environments for students on campus that are safe, that allow them to learn on university and community college campuses. That is really important. It is also really important to uphold free speech rights. This bill allows us to do both. It strikes the right balance. It reinforces and strengthens existing university policies and helps ensure university and college policies and helps ensure that they have the tools to provide a safe learning environment and can continue to uphold the rights of any student for their First Amendment rights.
But you can understand that so much of this was driven by, you could call them anti-Israeli or pro-Palestinian protests. I mean, we had Vietnam protests. We had all kinds. We've had college protests for quite a long time. It just feels constricting.
Again, not speaking to the content of the protest. This is specific to encampments. These are people that came in and camped out in the middle of campus. That's not the purpose of a university campus. It's a learning environment, and this is specific to that. It doesn't stop protests. It stops this piece of being able to come in and just take over a campus.
Governor Katie Hobbs is joining us in studio. Preston's law, focused on swarming attacks. You did sign it. I think for a lot of people, and I'm one guy that's included, it means a lot. You know, we all kind of feel like, you know, Preston was almost a family member. I was texting with his basketball head coach, and I said, "What do you think of the legislature putting this up and Governor Hobbs signing it?" And I figured if it's okay with him, I think it's okay. Coach Graham said today was progress, and myself and his parents are so very pleased, so pleased.
Yeah.
I've got Preston's jersey hanging in our office, and so every day I go and look at it, and it means that we have to still, you know, keep his memory alive. Tell me how this is going to punish people who swarm. Tell me, like, why this is something we need as a law.
First of all, thank you for sharing about Preston's coach. And I just want to say this is devastating, and I'm devastated for Preston's family. As a mom, I can't imagine losing my child, especially under circumstances like this. And so it was important with this bill to send a strong message, to send the message that this kind of violence, this kind of attack is not going to be tolerated. And it can never bring Preston back, but it will hopefully stop something like this from happening again. And I was proud to sign this bill.
Was there any communication between you and the Lord family?
No, there hasn't been.
Because I know that they were, like, I keep looking at the Preston Lord death and how he died, and now all these trials are going to happen. And I want to see the family start picking up some wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the first guy, he's going to jail for, I forgot how long. Is it 18 years or 21 years?
Yeah, something along those lines. I try to remember, yes. So we just had that happen a week ago.
And it's like so many people let that family down. The head of the PD in Gilbert was a disaster. The mayor out there was a mess. The school system, right. And I think that, you know, for the Lord family, they look at something like this. Okay, this means that he didn't die in vain.
Yeah.
I mean, this will keep his memory alive. And he's actually going to save somebody's life possibly down the line.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's always unfortunate when we have a law that's named after somebody because of a tragic event like this. But the fact that we have Preston's law is a testament to the family's persistence in pursuing justice. And I'm glad to not be on that list of folks who let the family down.
In studio with us right now is Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs. She joins us every couple of weeks. We appreciate you being generous with your time today. I have a question for you. Right now in the Congress of the United States, there is talk of legislation moving through, negotiations going on that appear to would have a very big effect on Medicaid in Arizona. Can you talk to me about where you know it is right now, and what plans are you making should this pass?
Well, under the current plan, somewhere around 10 million Americans will lose healthcare coverage. We haven't digested the full impact of those details in Arizona, but it's safe to say that hundreds of thousands of people stand to lose their health care. And this is life-saving health care. You have Governor Brewer as a frequent guest here, and I think she put it better than anyone else. You can't balance the budget by killing people. these Medicaid cuts will kill people. And there is not a state in the country, I don't believe, that has the capacity to absorb these kind of cuts. Certainly Arizona can't. We might be able to put some Band-Aids for a little while, but we can't absorb the impact. These are it's a lot of money, and the state matches a much larger percent of what the federal government provides. But it is not a handout from the federal government. I want to remind people, all of these cuts, these are Arizona tax dollars that we send to Washington, and they need to send it back to us for us to take care of our folks.
Have you spoken to anybody from our congressional delegation, even across the aisle, and told them the impact this would have on us?
Yes. My team is in constant contact with staff to staff level, so they're having these conversations. But every chance I get when I see a member of Congress, I have this conversation. And I actually saw Representative Siscomani on Monday. We talked about it. He expressed concern as well. So I'm hopeful that there are some Republicans who understand how devastating these cuts will be across the country, and that they stand firm and ensure that their constituents are getting the care they need.
What would you say to Congressman Biggs, who spoke on the floor of the House in favor of these cuts? What would you say to him?
Well, I was in the Senate with Andy Biggs when we passed Medicaid expansion with Governor Brewer. And I say we, he wasn't part of that coalition that passed it. To this day, it is the proudest thing I've ever done in the legislature was help expand Medicaid to 500,000 Arizonans who needed it. And Andy Biggs stood against that. We don't have a filibuster in the Senate, but he tried his version of a filibuster and tried to stop that expansion. And so it's not surprising he's taken this position. It's very unfortunate because he will harm Arizonans. He will harm his constituents if he gets his way on these cuts.
Governor Katie Hobbs joining us in studio. The Greer fire. What is the role of a governor when you see something like this?
Yep.
What's the first thing that you do? Because this happens all the time, right around this, right as before we start getting into summer and then in summer. So what do you do when something like this happens?
Well, first of all, the role isn't just about reacting to something like this that when it occurs, but we've been spending all of our time out of fire season preparing for fire season. We knew the impacts would be devastating because we've had such a dry winter. There's more fuel earlier. And so we've been preparing for this. I got off a call with Fire and Forestry Director Torres a little bit ago. He gave me an update on the progress. They've done a lot of mitigation, preventative mitigation ahead of time. So that's helping them hold the line right now. And a lot of these fires are cross-jurisdictional. We have a lot of state land. We have a lot of federal land, and we have to work together with cross-jurisdictional partners because the fire doesn't care what the boundaries are, and so the evacuations are in place. We are getting the resources in place that we need, and the problematic piece is the winds keep them from getting in the air to suppress. But right now, they're doing what they can, and the mitigation efforts made ahead of time have been incredibly helpful.
Yeah, and we certainly wish them the best fighting that fire right now. Yeah.
Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs in studio. Let's go back to a couple bills.
Yeah.
We got Senate Bill 1002, ban school employees from using pronouns that differ from students' biological sex or a name. We've got Senate Bill 1003. It would have limited would have limited school bathrooms and changing rooms to students based on their biological sex. So when you look at these two bills and you vetoed both, why veto both, and what didn't you like about them?
Look, here's the thing. At the beginning of the legislative session, I gave a State of the State address, and I asked the legislature to work with me on expanding freedom, opportunity, security for Arizonans. These bills don't do that. I would love for the legislature to focus on lowering costs, on protecting the border, on securing our water future, on creating jobs. And that's where our focus should be. And I've made it clear that bills that attack freedoms of Arizonans are going to be vetoed. These are not different than other bills I've gotten and vetoed in the past, so it shouldn't have been a surprise. I know parents are concerned about what's going on with their kids at school, and I think that schools and teachers and parents are best equipped to find the right approach. We don't need top-down government mandates to address these situations.
Yeah, I mean, one of the bills, it required teachers to inform a parent if their child was going to change their name or use a pronoun. And first of all, I don't think there are big groups of children that are doing this.
I think it's a very small number, right?
Yes. But also it's require. I mean, what if listen, my wife was a teacher for almost 30 years. She didn't keep secrets from parents. I mean, parents and teachers speak to each other all the time, at least over email. I mean, my wife was saying today when we were talking about this story, she's like, I'd have to email a parent if the kid was getting, kind of out of control during recess. So my guess is if a boy comes in and wants to change his pronouns and all that, my guess is most teachers are going to email mom and dad. Right? So do we need a law for this? Is that kind of what you saw, or that was my take on it?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I think it's too much. Schools are equipped to handle these situations.
Yeah. And I would say this, though. Can you acknowledge or understand that a lot of these issues, which I would acknowledge, affect a very minute number of people, transgender and these, it's not a huge group.
Right.
It's fraction of a percent of students, but they're winning issues politically. I mean, you could make an argument that, part of Donald Trump's success was men and women's sports and bathrooms and things like that, it's a winning political issue.
I'm more concerned about protecting the freedoms of Arizonans and not issuing, top-down government mandates for what you said is a small population. Every parent wants their kids to be safe at school, to have a good experience at school. And this really detracts from being able to do that.
All right. Last one for me for Governor Hobbs. You take the $400 million plane, right? You take the $400 million plane from Qatar. That's a no-brainer.
Arizona
is
the Arizona governor's plane.
You take it, right?
Look, the thing about this is not sure, he's being really transparent about accepting this $400 million bribe gift, whatever it is. That's not the issue.
What's the issue?
Well, you're not allowed to, but whatever. I don't know.
I'm taking the plane.
Okay. I think there's other things we should be focused on.
Fair.
But whatever.
$400 million plane tends to be. It's a good headline.
I don't know how you say no.
Yeah.
I don't say no.
It's probably not legal.
It's probably not legal.
That whole emoluments clause, the Constitution, the sticky thing gets in the way.
I'm just talking for me. I guess I can be bought. Your number's $400 million.
You're not elected.
That's right.
To the most powerful position in the world. So you probably could legally take it and be fine.
All right.
Governor Hobbs, appreciate your time today. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Outstanding. Every couple of weeks, Governor Katie Hobbs joins us in studio, takes some questions, and we appreciate, again, you being generous with your time. We'll see you back in a couple of weeks, all right?
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gatos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.